Mars in Capricorn gives us the perfect opportunity to explore something that really does need to be explored more in astrology, which is understanding what exaltation really is all about. Most people, when they think about exaltation, they think of it as, well, this is the highest condition. This is the highest dignity that a planet can attain. So what would you think of when you think of the highest situation you could attain? It's perfect. Perfect usually means everything is just right. Everything is right where you want it. Everything that you need is right there. But this isn't exaltation. This is actually the condition called domicile. What is domicile? Well, every planet owns zodiac signs. Most own 2. Sun and Moon each own 1. The sign that they own is the sign that they cultivate. And by cultivating the sign, they make the sign exactly what they want it to be. They make it into something that matches the planet. When a planet is in domicile, it's extremely comfortable, just like when you're in your own home. You put things where you want them. You make sure you have the things that you like and you need. And so you feel comfortable when you're at home. Similarly, when a planet is at home or in domicile in the sign that it owns, it feels very comfortable. Everything about the domicile sign exactly matches the character of the planet or very close to it. That's actually not the perfect condition, however. It's not the topmost condition. Because when you're comfortable and everything is just right, you don't really do anything. You just kind of potato out on the couch. In order to do something, you need a bit of a reason to do something. You need a bit of a motive, and that comes from having a bit of a pinch or a spark. Exaltation is different than perfectness. You know, actually, the way we think of perfectness is funny. The way we think of perfectness is this static kind of concept where everything is just right. Therefore, nothing else is required. That's not actual perfectness. The actual topmost condition is dynamic. It's not just static where everything is already just right and there's nothing you have to do. This is reflected in the exaltation signs of the planets. In exaltation, the planet exalts. That means it will come up higher than usual. Ucha. It will rise up. It will get better than usual. It's going to have an inspiration or an impetus to rise above some kind of flaw or drawback that's in its nature. And the way that it works is that the exaltation sign gives the planet enough comfort and enough helpfulness and enough sense of ease that it is relatively easy for the planet to rise up to face the particular challenge that the exaltation sign also provides. So in every planet's exaltation sign, when you analyze it carefully, you'll find that there are going to be many harmonious resonances between the planet and the sign, but at least one important disharmonious thing, which presents an important challenge to the planet. And because of the many harmonious resonances between the planet and the sign, the planet will have strength and power and vitality and be able to overcome the disharmony presented by the challenge from the sign. So now let's look specifically at Mars and Capricorn and see how this actually literally works in one specific case of one particular exaltation. There are many harmonious resonances between Mars and Capricorn. First of all, Mars is very strong. It's the planet of strength. It's the masculine planet. And Capricorn is extremely strong. The type of strength that Capricorn has differs from Mars's strength. Capricorn has female strength, which is very patient and enduring. Mars has very masculine strength, which is explosive. That is going to come up later. But basically, the fundamental underlying thing is harmonious between the two of them. Capricorn is very, very strong. It's signified by a mythic animal with Capricorn, gigantic horns on its head. It's very strong. You can get through anything. And Mars, of course, is all your muscle. So this first basic harmonious resonance between Mars and Capricorn indicates these people who have Mars and Capricorn, they're not going to get tired easily. They're going to have energy and strength and enthusiasm that is sustained. It sustains well. It endures. And therefore they can exert effort continuously. Another very important harmonious resonance between Mars and Capricorn. Mars is the planet of masculinity, so it's the planet of independence and freedom and individuality. Capricorn is really great with that because Capricorn is very detached and doesn't give a damn what other people think. So these really complement each other. Mars doesn't really give a damn. It wants to do its own thing. Capricorn doesn't really give a damn. It wants to do its own thing. So when you have Mars in Capricorn, this synergy comes out, and the natives with that, they are very self-reliant. They're unaffectable. They don't really care for your approval or not. They care if they approve it or not, or they care if some very important person approves or not. They don't care for mass approval. So they're unaffectable, and this comes along with why Mars in Capricorn is enduring and has power that sustains, because if they get a lot of downvotes or if they get a lot of unlikes, dislikes, they don't care. They're going to do it anyway. If a lot of people are telling them they're stupid, they don't care. They know they're right. They think they're right. And the third super important harmonious resonance between Mars and Capricorn is that Mars is all about fighting. Mars is masculine. It's about competition, fighting. Capricorn is great at fighting because Capricorn is critical. Capricorn finds every weakness, knows every crack, knows every flaw. So fighting and criticalness is you're kind of opposing something and revealing its weakness. Fighting is you're exploiting the weakness. These go very well together. Hence, natives with Mars and Capricorn, they are what we call clever. They fight intelligently. And they're also what we would call incisive. They cut right in. They find that little hole in the armor and stab right there. That's what we mean, clever, intelligent fighters, incisive. They get it right to the weak point and hit it. And they know the strengths and weaknesses of the enemies. So far, we've discussed the three major harmonies between Mars and Capricorn that are making Mars really feel happy to be here. Capricorn is giving Mars a lot of the resources that it needs to do the stuff that it wants to do. Now how about what's the challenge? Because this is not a domicile. We don't expect everything to be perfect for the planet. Perfect. We expect something to pinch the planet and inspire it to do something special, to rise up higher than it usually is. That pinch comes from the masculine nature to start things. And we alluded to this earlier with masculine strength being explosive and feminine strength being enduring, and that being represented by the difference between Mars and Capricorn. Here it comes again. Masculine strength is explosive because it's very initiative oriented and it starts things, but then doesn't really sustain the thing. Now, inceptivity, the inceptivity, which is signified by Mars, goes with Capricorn in two different ways. The ways that it interacts with Capricorn is two-pronged. One of the prongs is pretty harmonious, but the other one of the prongs is pretty disharmonious. So the inceptivity of Mars, it goes very well with the fact that Capricorn is really task-oriented and work-oriented. You will wind up seeing the people making lists, the people who make lists, and that making of a list inspires them to do something. That's what we're talking about here, how the inceptivity of Mars goes well with the task-oriented nature of Capricorn. Yet, actually, Capricorn's task-oriented nature, it likes to finish things. Right? It doesn't like to start things. It likes to finish things. And Capricorn resists starting something new until after it's finished something old. Capricorn is very tenacious. And so here is the basic clash. Mars is very initiating and inceptive, but Capricorn is very tenacious. So Mars is pushing to get new things started, but Capricorn is pushing to not leave the old things, to stick to the old things and get them done. This is a clash. But the secret about exaltation signs is that the clash is given to the planet as a challenge amidst a whole lot of support. So Capricorn is supporting Mars and helping it be really strong. Capricorn is supporting Mars and helping it be really detached and able to operate on its own. Capricorn is supporting Mars by helping it fight and defeat things, because it shows all the weaknesses. Capricorn shows Mars all the weaknesses. And then Capricorn is saying to Mars, but we want you to be slightly different than you usually are. We want you to be enduring. We want you to be reliable. We want you to be consistent. We want you to get things done, not just started. And that is the special thing about Mars and Capricorn. Elsewhere in the zodiac, Mars doesn't really display this ability to get things finished. Mars is showing its ability to get things started everywhere else. But here in Capricorn, Mars suddenly takes the nature of we can get things finished. So Mars in Capricorn overcomes its flaw, which is to be explosive and then spend all its energy right away. And instead it becomes enduring, and that's how it becomes a great asset. And this basic paradigm is applicable to every planet and every exaltation sign. The exaltation sign will make the planet face its flaw and give it the assets to actually easily overcome it. In contrast to the depression or the debilitation sign, the fall sign, which also makes the planet face its flaws but doesn't give it any help. Now, how about we look at some actual human beings with Mars and Capricorn? The deal with human beings with Mars and Capricorn who are famous, there are so many of them. And as you can see, this list is pretty well overpopulated compared to the lists of other planets that we've done so far. There are really a lot of famous people and great people with Mars and Capricorn, because this is really important. It's really nice to have exalted Venus or exalted Jupiter, but if you can get the difficult planets to be exalted, that is really special. So if you can get Mars and Saturn to be exalted, that is really special, because those are the planets that usually cause trouble. Venus and Jupiter, those are the planets that usually give blessings. So if you get them exalted, great, they just get even more happy. But Mars and Saturn are the planets that are usually challenging and causing all the difficult things that are in our life. And if you get those guys to be well behaved, that's really an upgrade. And so sure enough, there are too many people who are famous and important with Mars and Capricorn, but I'll pick out some. Here's some important women. Rosa Parks. Do you know who Rosa Parks is? Rosa Parks is the mother of the civil rights movement in America. We'll talk more about her in a second. Lady Gaga. She's got to have a strong Mars to behave like that, to even look like that. Shakira, Donna Summer, Katy Perry, Nicki Minaj, Christina Aguilera, Bjork, Gwen Stefani, Frida Kahlo, the painter, Alia. So you see the common nature in these women. It is really able to do things on their own, really able to do what they want to do, really able to see things through to the end, really able to stand up on the long term and be strong for the long term. The next group of people I have on here are a group of men. Walt Disney. That's interesting. Brad Pitt, Marlon Brando, David Bowie, very interesting example. Orlando Bloom, The Weeknd, Bob Marley, George Harrison, Ozzy Osbourne. Now, for a group of, very intelligent people. Albert Einstein, Mars and Capricorn. Thomas Edison, Mars and Capricorn. Leo Tolstoy, and Henry Matisse, the artist. Then there's like political, social type figures, Jeff Bezos and Ronald Reagan. And then these mystical figures, Osho, formerly known as Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, Aleister Crowley, formerly known as Aleister Crowley, and Edgar Cayce. So let's take a minute, as very important, to look at the individual charts, because Mars in Capricorn is one step in a recipe. It's not the entire recipe. It's one step in a recipe. The chart has many, many steps to it, many, many steps to reading the chart, like many, many steps in a recipe. So these people are obviously not all identically the same, and that's because the role that Mars in Capricorn plays in their recipe is slightly different. So let's take a look at a couple of them. We'll look at 4 of them today. Definitely want to look at Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks has no known birth time. That's not terribly important to get some basic ideas. So all you have to do when you don't know the birth time is just ignore anything relating to houses. Her Mars is in Purvashada. This is one special thing about Capricorn in the current epoch. It's getting quite strong because it has the Ashadas in it. And the Ashadas are very harmonious or confluent with the basic nature of Capricorn, which is to be very, very dominant. So it's in Purvashada. It's very close to her moon. So we don't know her birth time, right? So we can't really say how influential her Mars is, because all of the only way you can tell how influential the planet is by how much it affects the ascendant and the points based on the ascendant. But the planet which functions as a secondary ascendant is the moon. So we can tell that this Mars in Capricorn was a very important part of the recipe that made this lady Rosa Parks, because it's very close to her moon, and the moon is the second ascendant. The other important thing is that it is saving Jupiter from fall. Planets, interact with each other. So when one planet is debilitated, another planet, which is exalted, can help it. So Rosa Parks has Jupiter in Capricorn as well. So now when we know that Jupiter and Mars are both in Capricorn, Mars is exalted, Jupiter is debilitated, that means it's doing this thing called Nichbang, where it's modifying or remedying the debility of Jupiter. So this Mars in Rosa Parks' case is acting in concert with Jupiter, which represents morality, moral principles, values, etc. Rosa Parks is the woman who refused the order from the bus driver to get up and give her seat to the white person because she's black. And that's the beginning of the whole era where black people in America said, yeah, enough of this. Another chart I would like to look at is a favorite artist of mine, The Weeknd. Also has a Purvashada nakshatra. Also in Capricorn with his Mars is Saturn and Venus. So first of all, the nature of having Saturn with Mars in Capricorn is really great, because Saturn certainly is very happy in Capricorn. It's in domicile. It's very comfortable. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So this is like your rags to riches energy is coming out of this combination. Plus he has Venus in here. So this power is getting to interact with the artistic side. And to make it really, really, really good, his Mars is in a mutual aspect with exalted Jupiter. Another chart I would like to look at today to illustrate Mars in Capricorn is Albert Einstein. His Mars is in the next Ashada, Uttarashada Nakshatra, and it's with Rahu. What is the significance of having Rahu with his exalted Mars? Well, Rahu is futuristic and upward. So it's going to incline a person to look towards the future and to look towards space in the sky and put his energies of Mars in those directions. His Mars is in a Raja Yoga house exchange with Saturn. We do know Albert Einstein's birth time, so we can say things like it's a Raja Yoga, etc. It's in a Raja Yoga house exchange with Saturn, which saves Saturn from debilitation, from fall. So it's similar to Rosa Parks was saving Jupiter from fall. His Mars in Capricorn is not only just exalted in Capricorn, it's also in Raja Yoga, and it's also saving another planet from fall. So it's a very, very, very good Mars in Capricorn. You know, but you could see in his nature is very great tenacity, extreme tenacity, not giving up on his theory. Then, you know, I would really probably like to look at a lot of other people on here, like Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne, who sings a song about Mr. Crowley. We look at Crowley's chart, Casey's chart, but I think the guy who I'm picking to look at is actually Osho, who is quite a character. Osho is actually originally Rajneesh, or Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, the most controversial guru figure to ever come out of India, because he was completely anti-establishmentarian. So he was very against any kind of established values, organized ideals. He was very openly pro-sex, and he was very flagrant about acquiring wealth, and then a very controversial person, probably involved in very serious crimes, etc. Osho's Mars. It's in Mula Nakshatra. It's not in one of the Ashadas, unlike the rest of the people. It is with Saturn, like the weekends. And we do know his birth time. And so it's actually in the 8th house. And what's going on in his 8th house is pretty phenomenal. 8th house for Osho, the sex guru. What's going on in the 8th house is really interesting. He's got Mars on one side, the very beginning in Mula, the very beginning of Capricorn. And then on the other side, at the end of Capricorn, he's got Saturn. So it's that power punch that you see from the weekend also. And then bracketing in between those two planets, the moon, female. Venus, female. And Mercury. So the moon and Mercury, very mercantile. The moon and female. And Venus, very female. The moon, Venus, and Mercury together, pretty artistic, pretty able to be attractive and attract people, and all of that in the 8th house in Capricorn, bracketed by exalted Mars and domicile Saturn. Very interesting person. So I hope you really enjoyed this explanation of really a very important fundamental astrological principle. What is exaltation? Because without understanding this, you won't be able to interpret exaltation correctly. And then the practical examples of specifically Mars and Capricorn. I hope that clarified Mars and Capricorn for you. And then I hope you found it interesting to see how important it is to have Mars exalted, reflected in how many important people have this condition in their chart. And then some of these specific charts are pretty intriguing. So now let me just show you this clip that explains the basic underlying technique of how you analyze planets and signs before ending the video. So please watch the whole thing. Thank you. Now what we do in these videos with the planets and the signs is I show you a consistent technique that you can use for any planet and any sign. And the technique is very simple. You look for where the planet symbolizes something that's very, very similar to what the sign symbolizes. And once you find that, you assess whether or not the planet and the sign are harmonious about that thing, or whether they're antithetical about that thing. The dissonant resonance reveals what's complex or difficult for the native. The harmonious resonance, on the other hand, indicates what's easy, what comes natural, what's an inherent strength for the native. What I'm teaching you really is the method of how to do astrological interpretation by going down into the engine of the symbolism and comparing the parts. The actual interpretation that you should give is going to be individualized per the individual chart. So if you have person A with the moon in Scorpio and person B with the moon in Scorpio, it's not going to be exactly the same interpretation. Because person B's moon might have an aspect from something and person A's moon doesn't, etc., 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 etc. But what I'm showing you in the videos is the backbone of what a planet and a sign symbolizes. And once you understand that backbone, you modify it based on the circumstances, the extraneous circumstances that are affecting an individual chart. So I hope you really like this system, not just this one video, but all the videos that we do on the planets and the signs. We'll do them all. And I hope you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those. And I hope to see you around soon. Thank you.